Risk control strategies. Loss prevention tools reduce the probability of loss events by targeting its causes. Loss reduction tools target the effects of loss event. It could be financial or non-financial. Using controls for loss events to help seize the opportunity. Risk control is focused on preventing the causes and reducing the effects of loss events. Risk control may help organizations to seize the opportunities for higher level of financial and non-financial performance, allowing to achieve and sometimes exceed its objectives. There are four tools of controls, which are four T's actually, which are as follows. Number one, tolerate. To take no formal action to control it. Risk may be tolerated when it is known and accepted by the organization. It is mostly happen when the risk is within its appetite. Organization can tolerate risk because control tools are expensive or uneconomic or impractical. Where risks are necessary to achieve its objective, senior management should approve and periodically review the decision, and it is very rare to tolerate risk exposure indefinitely. Treat. These are the action taken to manipulate an organization's exposure to one or more risks. It includes loss reduction and prevention tools that can be used by the organization. Transfer. Passing the impact of loss event to third parties for transfer. It can be done by two ways. Financial impact of loss event, transfer of financial impact of loss event, which can be achieved via insurance or equivalent risk financing contract. Here, risk insurance provides full or partial indemnity against pre-specified tools, pre-specified loss events in return for payment of consideration or premium. Transfer of financial and non-financial impact of loss events can be done by contracting with different suppliers or by doing outsourcing, for example, purchasing of electricity. Termination includes actions taken to stop an activity or leave a location that is creating a particular risk exposure or combination of exposures. This decision is very serious as along with termination of activity or location, it is passes up the valuable opportunity which may fail it to achieve objectives. This decision can only be taken while risk exposure is not tolerable, transferable, or treatable. Risk treatment technique is a common choice for organizations looking to comply their exposure to risk. It includes loss prevention and loss reduction tools. For effective use of risk treatment, it is important to categorize loss prevention and loss reduction tools. For example, there are following loss reduction to following risk treatment techniques. It is PCDD. So, first one is preventive. This typology is used to help classify the range of control that can be used to control health and safety or environmental hazards. A similar approach is used to classify internal controls that an organization will use to control its employees, processes, and activities to comply with law, regulation, internal policies, and to achieve organization objectives. Prevention tools, preventive controls focus on addressing the causes of loss events. This include staff training, personal protective equipments, asset management, shredding, confidential documents, security arrangements. Second technique is corrective control. Helps to correct the adverse consequences of hazard or similar loss event that has occurred. These are types of loss reduction tools, for example, fire extinguisher, disciplinary procedure, business continuity, and recovery plan. data recovery procedure, and occupational health arrangements. Directive controls. These are the controls that are used to impose desirable result, including design and implementation of health and safety policies and procedures. Directive controls helps to indicate onset of an hazard or subsequent loss events such as fire or pollution. It may be used to highlight deficiencies that may influence their effectiveness. It is loss prevention tool that which helps to detect the causes of potential loss events, which helps to detect occurrence of actual loss event. They function best when combined with corrective, preventive, and directive controls. It includes fire and burglar alarm, internal audit and compliance review, test of business continuity and disaster recovery plan, health and safety inspections, inventory check, bank reconciliation to detect loss events such as fraud. Other way to categorize risk treatment technique is in terms of formality or informality. Formal controls have following characteristics. They have physical presence, documented within a policy and procedure, involve tangible sanctions. Informal controls, they are social mechanisms never documented and do not have physical presence. The sanctions for its violations are intangible, hard to define or quantify. These controls includes culture and risk culture. They are related to social norms, beliefs, values, perception that staff members and other stakeholders have concerning the control of risk. These controls are important complements to formal controls and ensure compliance and correct implementation of formal controls. Risk financing. Organization use risk financing mechanisms to fund financial consequences of loss events. Loss event can be very expensive to recover from. Following are the risk financing options. Retained risk financing. Treating, tolerating, and terminating the effects of loss event with the aid of risk finance is called retained risk financing. This involves retaining rather than transferring the financial effect of loss events. Here, organization use retained risk financing to keep the financial impact of one or more type of loss within the legal and financial boundaries. These financial effects will affect following: cash flow, profit or surplus, balance sheet, reducing assets or increasing liabilities. This is funded, means allocating funds before a loss has to be financed, and is chosen because risk transfer is not needed, not available, or too expensive. It can be done before or after the offense. It is done uh, funded. This is funded, means allocating funds before a loss has to be financed, and is chosen because risk transfer is not needed, not available, or too expensive. It can be done before or after occurrence. It is done post event where loss event occurred but full effects are not yet known or not fully realized. Time period between loss event and realization of all losses can give time to put in place fund for these losses. Unfunded means not putting funds but relying on the current cash flow. It occurs because potential for loss event has not been identified. Full effects of loss events are not understood. Failure in risk transfer. Organization decides that financial effect is too small and funding is not required. Insurance risk transfer. Purchasing insurance from insurance company. An organization will normally use an insurance intermediary known as insurance broker to help design, purchase, and to process claim. Insurance process are complicated, and these brokers helps to achieve best possible combinations to recover and premium cost. Conventional to cover and premium cost. Non-conventional risk transfer for financial effects of risk. These are non-conventional risk transfer tools for financial effects of the risk includes hedging, finite risk insurance. It's a multi-year mechanism for sharing financial effect of loss event with external counterparties. Protected cell captive insurance company. Catastrophic bond. These are risk-linked securities that are used to transfer risk to financial counterparties who make profit if pre-specified catastrophic event fails to occur. Credit default swap provides form of insurance against creditors' default on their obligations. The trade creditors. Controlling major loss events. The scale of loss event can vary significantly. Most loss events will be relatively small scale in terms of their effect, but major event can occur occasionally. These events have significant financial and non-financial implications on organization. Initially, they can seriously damage the assets, injury, or death, and often attract media attention. Post-event business activities will be disrupted due to initial effects. Large regulatory fines, liability claims can follow. Management of aftermath or loss event affect its reputation. An organization without effective crisis management and business continuity plan may not survive. Crisis management. It is a process by which organizations deal with the disruptive and potentially unexpected event that threatens to harm organizations, its stakeholders and general public. This process is same as risk management. It involves identification, assessment, monitoring, and control of crisis risk. Crisis events are rare and have little data to identify and assess them. Organization can use information on crises that have been experienced by the organization. Stages for crisis management are as follows. Signal detection. Look for first step. Look for early warning signs that crisis can occur. It includes investigating the near miss, internal audit findings, risk management, risk monitoring reports, including operational performance report, external events. Second step, preparation and prevention. Steps are taken to prepare for occurrence of potential crisis events and prevent these events by looking into the causes of these events. Third step, containment and damage control. Steps must be taken to limit the adverse effects of this event. This may include implementing business continuity plans, communicating with key staff and stakeholders, working with emergency service, implementing a public relation plan to deal with any media relations. Business recovery means recovery time. Recovery time can be reduced by effective recovery arrangements. These includes quickly replacing the lost assets and ensuring that funds are available to support the recovery. Learning from crisis. Lessons are learned from the experience to help prevent future crises or reduce the effects of future crises, including implementing a post-event review of how crisis was managed and of finding ways to improve the effectiveness of pre-crisis control. Business continuity planning help with containment, damage control, support business recovery. It may be for whole organization, but it is most common to develop plan for specific function, system, or premises. It is action that should be taken to minimize the business disruption and help recover major loss events as quickly as possible. The plan shows the order for recovery and how quickly they must be recovered. It explains the roles and responsibilities of people to support recovery efforts and reporting lines. It should be tested annually and may be desk based or live tested. Controlling third party risks. Key risks are of third party are as follows: failures of the service provider to provide an acceptable quality of service, disruption of continuity of service, failure of service provider such as bankruptcy, failure of service provider due to some reasons like bankruptcy. Each of these risks can have a significant impact on organization, increasing cost and disrupting operational continuity.